Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Camino Cafe. We are thrilled to have everyone here today, whether you are watching us on our YouTube channel or our podcast. So thank you so much for being here and for supporting the Camino Cafe. We are excited today to have the American Pilgrims on the Camino. We have several different representatives of this organization, and I'm proud to say that I am a part of it and new to it really in the last year or so. And I'm very curious still about everything that this community offers. And I think probably most of the people watching this probably know that there's a very robust Facebook group for the American Pilgrims, for the overall national organization, as well as some just amazing local chapters that I've had the opportunity to sit in on some Zoom calls this past year. So I know I'm personally, and Corey's really personally benefiting from all the things that have been offered. So we're going to try to talk a lot about what's been going on, what's the future coming up, as much as we can all know. But I know there's some exciting stuff that's coming out of some recent ideas out of the organization. So we'll hopefully cover all of that today. So welcome everyone. And we'll just do an introduction to start off with. And if you could just let our viewers and our listeners know where you're calling from, your name, of course, where you're calling from, when you went on Camino or Caminos, and what your role is with the American Pilgrims on the Camino. So Dave, do you want to start and just open it up for us?
Sure, I'll go ahead. I'm Dave Donselar. I'm calling in from Alexandria, Virginia. I currently chair the board of directors of American Pilgrims. I did my first Camino in 2013. I did the French way with my wife and son. And then we have since walked in the Pyrenees in France. And then I guess it was 2017 or 2018, we did the Portuguese way from Porto up to Santiago. And so that's my Camino experience.
Awesome. And you are the chair of the board?
I am.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks a lot.
All right, so next we've got Bill. Bill, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Bill Artz. I am calling in from Chicago. I've done two Caminos. The first one was in 2014. I did it the Frances by bicycle. And the second one, I walked from Leon with my now wife, and we walked from Leon to Santiago on the Frances. So, and in addition to being the treasurer of the organization, I work with the chapters team in all our 58 chapters located across the country.
Okay, cool. And I think that's going to be an interesting topic for us to talk about, that the American Pilgrim Group supports both people who walk the Camino as well as cycle the Camino. So it's great that we have, you on here with both of those experiences. So thank you. All right, Carmen.
Hello, my name is Ruben Mendoza. I am calling from Laredo, Texas, right on the Mexican border. And I've done the Camino on 2018 with my wife and my daughter. I'm also the secretary for the board of directors, and I work with the grants program.
The grants program. Okay, awesome. Thanks for being here, Ruben. Last but not least, we have Carmen.
Hi, my name is Carmen Marriott. I'm calling from Tucson, Arizona, close to the border too. I am going to talk today about the hospitalero program, and I have done 6 Caminos starting in 2014. I too am on the chapters committee, and I've been on the board for 6 years. I'm on my last year on the board. So I'm the oldest and the most senior on the board.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you for being here today. Okay, so I heard that you just had your quarterly board meeting, and I think there's some pretty exciting information that's coming out as a result of that meeting. So I just wondered, maybe Dave, if you could share with us what's the big news? What's going on?
Sure. No, I'm happy to share. The biggest thing coming up, especially coming out of COVID, obviously, for over the past year, our ability to gather together in larger groups has been constrained, obviously. And although some of our chapters have gotten together in smaller groups, using all the precautions that are out there. Coming up in July, we're looking forward to a celebration of St. James Day. So St. James Day is when help me out, guys, when St. James Day occurs on a Sunday. So we're going to do a celebration in South Bend, Indiana at St. Mary's College. And it'll be our first opportunity to gather folks together in a little bit larger group in I guess almost a year and a half, 2 years now. So we had to cancel our 2021 gathering, or I'm sorry, our 2021 gathering. And so we're just looking forward to seeing everybody again in person. Obviously, through the board, in the board meeting, we spent a lot of time talking about precautions and things we can do to keep people safe. And so we've made some decisions to ensure folks are properly vaccinated before we gather together. And we're requiring testing. And so we've really tried to layer in some precautions to make sure we keep people safe as we sort of venture back into this.
Okay, great. So probably lots of follow-up questions. Let's first, I guess, talk about this great event. So it sounds very exciting. And first off, thinking about COVID and everything, will there be some type of publication, or will there be something on the website that's going to explain these procedures so that people can refer back to that?
There will. Our website has information about the celebration and the registration. We're expecting the registration to open up in the middle of May to early June. Again, we're keeping very close track of conditions on the ground, right? And those numbers constantly change, but they're looking pretty favorable. We just had a good discussion with the president of the college there at St. Mary's College in South Bend, and they're working very closely with the health department there, and things are looking favorable to get this event off the ground. This celebration is actually going to be a little bit different than our traditional gatherings. Our traditional gatherings, we have a lot of presenters. Some people talking about books. Authors will come in and talk. People will come in and talk about their experiences. This is going to be a little bit more activity based, and so we have a variety of hikes every day. And going off in 4 different directions. Again, trying to come up with events with social distancing in mind, so we can keep people as separate as possible while still enjoying that camaraderie that comes along with the gathering.
Okay.
So a lot of event-based things.
Okay, so what kind of agenda, would everybody start arriving, say, like on Friday, and it kind of culminates with the Sunday celebration, or what do you imagine?
Yeah, in this particular event, it's going to start on a Friday evening, so folks will start arriving, and the events will go through the weekend, and culminating with St. James Day feast on Sunday afternoon, which will have everybody will of course spread out in the hall, but they have it's a really beautiful. It's modeled almost after a French chateau, where it's just a beautiful big hall, and so we'll be able to spread folks out for that feast, and yet still enjoy that.
How's the filming?
It's okay. You froze for a second, but you're fine.
Okay, all right, we're back. Okay. I'm like, what's happening? Okay, sorry, we may have missed that last point. So could you just repeat that last little bit?
Sure, the last little bit. So we were talking about the St. James Day feast. We've got it. The building almost looks like an old French chateau, and so there's a very long dining hall, and so that feast really promises to be something special. And the folks at St. Mary's College have agreed to include all the traditional Spanish foods and things you might experience as you were walking the Camino in Spain. So we're really looking forward to that.
Well, that sounds delightful.
Yeah.
So first question, I guess, on that is like, how many people are you anticipating that you can accommodate for the actual in-person event?
Well, we're treating this actually as a regional gathering, and so while we expect people will probably come in from beyond just the Midwest, we're going to cap it at about 150 people, and so we'll have some additional commuters and folks come in, but generally we're trying to keep that gathering to a manageable number, especially as we first start wading back into this. Our gatherings are traditionally gatherings throughout the years have been anywhere from 170 to up. I think our max was about 300 people. So this will be about towards the lower end of that. Just again, out of an abundance of caution.
Sure, that makes sense. That's smart. So, who knows what's going to happen? I imagine you're going to sell out at safety. I hope so.
I hope so. I expect we will.
People are anxious that if we're good to travel, that people are going
They
to want to.
are.
So for people that may not be able to travel, maybe they're not comfortable, or if it does sell out, like we're anticipating, would there be any portions of this event that would be available virtually?
Yeah, Billy, you can probably talk a little bit more about that, but there is going to be a virtual option.
Okay.
Bill, you want to give a little bit of detail there?
Sure. Yes, there will be a virtual option. We're working through the agenda. There's some folks that want to participate, some musicians and some other speakers, keynote speakers that can't necessarily attend in person, but they're more than willing to provide some, to participate virtually. So yes, we are anticipating to have a corresponding virtual event that may not incorporate everything that obviously you won't be doing hikes, but maybe we'll try to loop them in somehow to do that as well. So yeah, definitely looking at the virtual option as well. We've gotten better at it over the last year just because of all the things that we've all had to go through, right? So
Right.
And I think that's kind of been a silver lining, right? Obviously we're all pilgrims, so we probably all want that in-person connection, but Zoom has really played an important role, I think, for all the local chapters this year when walks have had to stop or whatever. And I know, like for Corey and I, this has really provided a lot of access to people we probably never would have been able to speak to in the past. So that's been really fun. So I'm going to I want to jump back to you in a moment, Dave, but Carmen, I just wanted to ask, is there any type of hospitalero training that will be associated with this particular event?
Not this time. And the reason we decided to do that is there's a lot of changes that are happening in Spain, the protocols, and they are just now in the process of developing the new training materials and what requirements there will be. And there's really very little need for hospitaleros right now. So we have a lot of people who have been trained and haven't had the opportunity to serve yet.
Okay.
So we thought we will wait until the gathering next year in 2022 to offer another training session.
All right, we'll circle back then, Carmen, to talk a little bit more about that. But I wanted to go back, Dave, to you. You mentioned that there will be an annual gathering, and that is in March of 2022. Is that the planned date?
It is, yeah, March 31st through April 3rd. We're going to be down in Black Mountain, North Carolina, back at the YMCA Blue Ridge Assembly. We had our gathering in 2019 down there, so we'll be returning there. And that gathering was actually, I think, one of our largest. That was the one where we had almost 300 people, and it was a very successful event. Everybody had a good time there, and of course, the area around Asheville, North Carolina, is just stunning. So we're really looking forward to going back to that venue.
Okay. I've never had the chance, and neither has Corey, right? We haven't been to one of these annual gatherings. So could you give everybody, because I'm feeling like, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but I'm imagining this is one of the big benefits of belonging to the organization. So can you tell us a little bit about what typically happens at one of these big gatherings?
Sure. Well, the best thing about the annual gatherings is it's a combination of old friends, and so there's people that go routinely to the gatherings, and so you get to reconnect with people that you maybe haven't seen for a while, and that's what'll make this next gathering, I think, particularly special, because we haven't been able to gather together. So really looking forward to that. But the other really unique part of it is you get an influx of new pilgrims who you've never met before, and you create brand new connections. And so the gathering itself has a lot of sort of returning speakers where you could just listen to some of these speakers. They're just brilliant, and you could listen to them over and over again. And so we have that type of person come throughout every gathering. But then you also have, every year there's something new, and something new to offer to pilgrims who are just maybe experiencing it for the first time. And so just a great combination of history, of art, of literature, you name it. I think even last time, one of the highlights was we had somebody from Wounded Warriors come and talk about veterans on the Camino, and how to best serve that community as they come back with, whether it be injuries or other post-traumatic stress, those types of things, and having the Camino help them deal with those issues. So some really special folks as well.
Now, was that Father Stephen Rendall?
It was, as a matter of fact, yeah.
He's a good friend of ours. We've been talking to him quite a bit this year. So
That's
yeah.
great.
So this annual gathering, if I were someone who the seed has been planted that I should go on Camino, but I haven't yet walked, would this be an appropriate event for me, or would this be something that someone goes to once they've already walked the Camino? Who's it benefit?
It may be intimidating early on. If you're a new pilgrim, haven't walked the Camino before, it might be intimidating walking into a group of, 300, what you might expect to be seasoned pilgrims. But I'll tell you, having done that once, it's a great experience, because there are, as you might imagine, none of us have a shortage of stories to tell people, and we're all more than willing to share those experiences. And we even have courses or events in the course of the gathering that are like new pilgrim Q&A. So if you can come and ask, there are no dumb questions, but you can come and ask anything, right? I don't know what to pack. I don't know what to wear on my feet, whatever it might be. And there's a bunch of different answers. And so it's very welcoming. And so I would encourage anybody who's even thinking about walking the Camino to not hesitate to sign up. We're a friendly bunch and we're more than willing to share our experiences.
Okay. So
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I was really happy. I originally assumed that you needed to walk a Camino to become a member, and then found out later that that was a wrong or an incorrect assumption. So it's a nice welcome, to those that have not walked but have an interest. And I think that, you are a great resource to those who haven't been as well. So thank you for that.
We had a question not long ago. We received an email and somebody asked, hey, when do I get to be a pilgrim? And and I chuckled at that, but you can see somebody being concerned, like, when do I actually get to become a pilgrim? And we actually incorporated some of that thinking in our vision statement, because when we came up with this vision statement, I guess it was Carmen, help me out, was it 2018?
2018, yeah.
2018. We wrote a statement that said, we inspire all who seek the spirit of the Camino to connect with the global community of pilgrims. And we chose those words deliberately, all who seek, right? We want people who want to experience this or find out what it's about. For me, anyway, the answer to that question is that's when you're a pilgrim, right? When you seek it out. And we want you to be part of that community. So again, we try to be very welcoming in that way.
yeah, I love that. I think you become a pilgrim the day that you start about the Camino and that seed is planted, right?
Right, exactly.
I just wanted to add to what Dave said. I think our gathering is one of our signature events that represents our value of community.
Okay.
And it really is welcoming to everybody. And it's time to connect, to make new friends, and it's a deepening of the community spirit of the Camino. And it's a fantastic thing, whether you've gotten your credential, whether you bought your airline ticket, if you have the desire to be a pilgrim, you become a pilgrim. And this will solidify that desire if you haven't gone.
Yeah.
That's so inclusive. That's so nice.
Excellent. So now, how many members overall are in the organization right now? What's the total close to? Who could answer that? Bill, is that your neighborhood?
Sure. Right now we have roughly 1,600 members. So I think more or less around that number. So, and in addition to the membership, there's 58 local chapters across the country. Not everybody who attends chapter events has to be a member. Really, I think membership is around not only supporting the organization, but the things that we do for pilgrims and here in the US as well as in Spain, through Ruben's grant, Ruben working on the grants program, or Carmen working through with hospitalero, so and Facebook as well. So all the different programs support those programs.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. The over 1,600 dues paying members, but it goes well beyond that. If you look at the Facebook, for example, there are over 23,000 people that are part of, want to be part of American Pilgrims in that way. So I think the community is enormous. and not just measured by sort of the dues paying, which again, you go back to our value, our mission or our vision statement. That's it doesn't say all members, right? It says all, and I think that's just an important part of it.
Right. In addition to that, I would add that there's probably close to 16,000 people on overall chapter mailing list, the total. So there's another 16,000 people that aren't necessarily members, but participate in various chapters events throughout the country as well.
Excellent. A lot of touch points. That's excellent. So just kind of a lightning round, and we'll ask each of you, what's the number one reason if somebody is watching this and they're like, should I join the American Pilgrims? What's the number one reason you would say that someone should join and be a due paying member? So we'll start with Dave. What's the number one reason?
I'm going to take the obvious one, and everybody's going to be mad at me. But that's supporting the Camino infrastructure, which is so important, and that's where a good portion of that goes. It allows us to have an impact directly on the ground in albergues, in trail, in waymarking, in a number of ways. And so I think that's I think one of the most important reasons to become a dues paying member.
All right, we're going to circle back to that, Dave, because I really want to get some more detail on that, because that's an area I'm not as familiar with. So, and I think that other people are going to have some questions about that. So, Bill, number one reason, why should I join?
I'm going to speak from personal experience. Before I did my first Camino, went to a chapter event, and they were very helpful in terms of getting me acclimated to what I needed to do to be prepared to do the Camino. I obviously did my first one by bicycle, but the people I met, there's a mentoring program that we do that mentors and brand new pilgrims. So you're prepared to go and be successful and complete the Camino. So for me, speaking personally, I think that's the number one reason.
Yeah, that's a great one. Okay, we'll talk more about that too. Ruben, what's the number one reason somebody should join?
For me, it's supporting the infrastructure, but supporting the infrastructure is not only grants, it's also the external relationships, the hospitalero training, as well as the volunteers that sometimes we have abroad. This year we haven't had them, but in the past we support, volunteers in the Camino, either at the Santiago or in other places. So all of those is basically supporting the infrastructure. So grants is a part of it, but there's also other components that make it up.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you. And Carmen, last. I'm sorry you're going last on this.
That's all right. I'll just be the sweep, right? And I think everybody kind of touched on it. It's our mission. I think our mission draws me to this group, and our mission is to foster the enduring tradition of the Camino. It's the enduring tradition, it's the cultural heritage, it's the welcoming and supporting of pilgrims on the Camino. And how do we do that? Through our infrastructure, by our gathering people together, providing information, supporting encouragement to past and future pilgrims. It's inclusive. And I think our values, I try and live our values every day, and they are community, service, gratitude, and simplicity. And when you are with people who understand and live those values, you're living the spirit of the Camino. And you don't have to be a member, but our membership dues does so many great things for the traditional Camino. And we are competing with the commercialization of the Camino. And I think I think we embody, from an American point of view, what we can do to support that enduring tradition. It's intangible, but it's heartfelt.
All right. Give us those values again.
Our first value is community. We are welcoming to all people and strive to create real opportunities for people to connect, grow, and share in a meaningful way. Service. We strive to create opportunities for people to help and support one another before, during, and after the Camino experience. Gratitude. We embrace every opportunity to thank and to be thanked for actions big and small. And simplicity. We always aim to concentrate on what's important in life and to celebrate all we have while appreciating every situation. And I remember when we came up with these values and we polled the membership and we talked to people at the gathering and we did all kinds of exercises. And my gosh, who wouldn't want to be a member of this community with those values? And it's so cheap,
Absolutely.
inexpensive.
Great job on those, really. Those are outstanding values for the organization. And like you said, you know, you're living that. I mean, if you're doing that in general, then that's the Pilgrim way. So, Dave, I wonder if we can circle back now to infrastructure. So I hear that word used a lot in this community with American Pilgrims. So my first question to you, this might be just a really silly question, but does the American Pilgrim group have like a sister group in Spain or anywhere else? Like, what's the connection there? Are there any organizational connections?
I'll actually pass that one to Carmen because I think you'll be able to touch base on and answer that one really well.
So I'm the external relations representative, and we don't have sister groups. There are other international organizations outside of Spain and in Spain that have similar missions to ours. You know, we have been authorized to issue credentials, for example, by the cathedral. Well, so has South Africa, so has Ireland, so has the UK, so has Australia. And so we talk, and they also do the hospitalero training at some of those places. And they've been trained by the Spanish Federation that is in charge of training people like that. So there's a community, but we're not in any way legally affiliated. But we're strongly bonded, let's put it that way.
So the Spanish Federation, is that who you were referring to earlier that would be establishing the new rules for volunteers?
Yes, yes.
You just kind of work hand in hand with them and obviously have respect towards what they're asking us to do, that kind of thing.
But they, when we talk a little bit more about the program, they have authorized and trained us in their ways so that we can be placed at the donativo albergues, which are the traditional albergues.
Okay.
You don't have to be trained to be a volunteer, let's say at a private albergue or municipal albergue, but to go to the Donativo Federation based where they place you, you need to be trained. And so we are authorized by them to conduct the training.
Okay. How many people overall would you say have already been trained for hospitalero training?
Well over 600 since 2004.
Wow.
And more than half have served at least once.
Nice.
Yes.
So when we're talking about infrastructure, just help me define that. What are we talking about when you guys say, yeah, we're supporting the infrastructure? Give me a little more detail on what that means.
Hey, Ruben, you want to take that one?
Sure. What we mean is for every albergue or Camino, we provide grants that are actually provide beds in some cases, fixes roofs, remodels showers or toilets or, you know, that sort of stuff. Beds for people, desks, you know, for utility rooms, things like that. So what we do is every year since 2008, we've been providing grants anywhere from a few grants to 16 or 17 grants a year based on whatever budget we have.
Okay.
And each association or albergue asks us to provide a project. We rate that project, and on that basis, we award or deny the grant on that basis. So to date, we have over 100 grants that we've done, over $400,000 provided to people or to albergues and associations.
Did you say, okay, so 100 grants have been offered. Did you say $400,000?
Yeah, over 400,000. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's a lot of money.
This year we are awarding 11 grants, and it's around $48,000 that we're providing.
Okay.
And it has various projects. I give you some of them.
Okay.
We have signaling that has to be done. You know, the post on the Camino, signage.
I'm sorry, what?
The signage that goes on the Camino. We have provided beds, bunk beds for an albergue. We have provided, fixing of roofs and other things that need repair,
Okay.
as well as, shower doors and stuff like that needs to be replaced. So basically, whatever it takes to do, we don't do operational cost. We basically provide anything that can be capitalized or can be done as a project under those bases. Huh?
Okay, so who would have been in charge of asking for more signage? Who is that, from the Federation, or who's asking?
Well, basically, it's an association that is trying to improve the signage on a particular Camino. So
Okay.
this year we had a couple of them. One that has a 3-year program to improve the signage in certain areas. One in the northern part of Spain, and another one by Andalusia, a small, that connects to the Camino to the Plata,
Okay.
the Plata. And so that's what the associations ask for, a request for, with this amount of money to do this 15 kilometers or 10 kilometers of signage that we need to do.
Okay. So this year, 11 grants approved, around $48,000. That was.
Yeah, a little bit over $48,000, but that's what we have done. Huh?
Excellent. So is there a lot of demand out there for the grants? Like, how many people were applying this past year?
Well, this year there were 13. Okay. And previous years we had as high as 17. I think we saw, I think it was 18 last year, and previous years in the same neighborhood. This year we saw probably a decline because of the, most of the albergues have been closed. So it's likely that, they either, were in other straits or somehow didn't materialize the request. Huh?
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's what we anticipate. We don't know for sure. Huh? What we do normally, we send a distribution list of over 350 associations and albergues each year. And our grant cycle starts in December 1st, and applications need to be submitted by February 1st. And then, money gets distributed during the month of April and May. Yeah?
All right. Do you anticipate there's going to be an increase in requests for grants after what we've gone through this past year? I've heard a lot of stories about a lot of albergues, really suffering without income coming in. So are you imagining an uptake, and is there any plan to try to raise more money, or what's your thought?
We're working on that. We're trying to come up with ideas of how to, how to secure the money. Obviously, this year has been hard on us. One of our revenue items is actually credentials, and this year we haven't had many credentials. In addition, we had a small decline in the membership. Huh? So it's tough.
Yeah, definitely. Any other infrastructure things that any of you want to bring up that we haven't covered?
I think our volunteer hospitaleros are a large part of the infrastructure support. And not only do we place people through the Federation into different albergues, but we also have a program where we support the Galicians in their welcoming of pilgrims, and it's in Ribadizo. And we have 2-week stints that people have been there just to be there to support and listen to pilgrims. They're not doing a lot of cleaning or cooking or some of the traditional things that we do, but it's another way to support the infrastructure, which I think we do call it the traditional way of the pilgrim. The signage is a real important thing. How do you get from one place to another without getting lost too many times? We're all going to get lost, right? But not too many times. And some of the pressures when with the influx of so many pilgrims over the last couple of years, really looking to take some of the traffic off of the Camino Frances. And these are traditional historical ways of pilgrims to get to Santiago. So it's kind of broadening that cultural heritage through volunteer hospitaleros as well.
So you provide quite a bit of information on the website. Like it's very robust. When you look at the community asking questions, because of course the Facebook community, there's lots and lots of questions every single day about wanting to go on the Camino. What's the number one thing that you would like for people to know is a resource that you already have out there, that they don't really have to go on Facebook and ask for this, that it's already created and sitting right there on your website?
I think about that in a couple of different ways. On one hand, we do provide a lot of information on the website, and most of the answers are out there. There are very few questions, I think, that haven't been asked and answered at some point, and there are lots of resources to go off and do that. But on the other hand, I think it's important to have venues for people to reach out and ask questions and talk to an actual person or interact with other pilgrims or future pilgrims to bat those things around. And so I will tell you, one of the things that I always chuckle a little bit about is that question, what type of shoes should I wear, or what type of boots should I wear? And you go, gosh, that's been asked 1,000 times. But on the other hand, if you're a new pilgrim and you really don't know what to anticipate, or you really don't know what to expect, that's a question you've got. And so, in addition to, directing people to the website and saying, hey, you can go find it, part of the fun here is interacting with people, interacting with other people going through the same experiences or that have been through the experiences that you're about to go through. And so I think those questions are great. And in whatever venue we can get those questions answered in, all the better, I think.
That's really nice, Dave. I like your.
Just to add, I think that our website also has essays, book reviews, details about what to wear, what not to wear, all kinds of stuff there. So there's an abundance of information that is available, including the amount of money that we have provided in grants and the specificity about some of the details about what the grant went for. And also our magazine that goes out every three months. I think it's quarterly that goes out, La Concha, which is a fantastic magazine. Sometimes, 40 pages that goes along with beautiful stories about pilgrimage, feelings that come across from members that kind of voice their opinion, book reviews, other types of information goes out.
Yeah, I wanted to actually talk about that next, Ruben, so I'm glad you brought it up. This last issue was fantastic. Blown away by the quality, first the beauty, the quality, and the information, like loaded. It was wonderful. So can you tell us a little bit about, for people who haven't seen it, is it only available electronically, first of all? Yes.
Yes.
Carmen, you want to take that one?
Right now, it's available electronically. It's written by members, for members. And after about a month of it being out, then it's posted on the web. And so everybody can have access to back issues. And I got to say with Ruben, I mean, it's really evolved. It's been a wonderful piece of information and a newsletter from the very beginning that we've really just, there's so many people that contribute to not just the content, but in the editing and production of it. And it's all volunteer, and they're members of the organization, furthering the mission of educating, informing.
Yeah, well, it's beautiful. Great job. Anyone that hasn't seen it, I hope that they can go onto the website and look at past issues. Can anyone do that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I encourage anyone that's listening tonight or watching our interview to go on the website, because truly this last one was just beautiful and just so full of information. It's very helpful. So great job, guys.
That blue door on the cover of it was just stunning. And one of the interesting parts about this issue is you see the variety of ways that people process their Camino. So there were a number of folks in there who connected what they were seeing to whether it be current events or things that are going on with their life or how they're reacting to the whole pandemic. So it was really, really special, I think, this time, and it's been getting better and better every time.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I wonder if, I'm curious, is there like when you look at the chapters across the US, how are the pilgrims, what's the demographics? Are there the most pilgrims in the state of New York and California? What's the breakdown? What's it like?
Bill, you want to take that one?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I think demographically, the higher population areas have where the concentration of folks are. So, in California, we have a number of chapters, in the Midwest, and then on the East Coast, and then and down south in Florida and Texas. So, the higher population areas do have probably the larger amount of participants in the pilgrims in the chapters, right? So we kind of struggled on how we're going to classify folks. So we're all pilgrims, so that's what we've decided to do. But that doesn't say that we have those smaller dense or smaller areas of population don't have active chapters. They're certainly very active and very dedicated people that are involved in those smaller areas as well. They just have fewer folks, I guess.
If you were to look at the last year or so, is there a particular chapter that you're like, wow, some of the things that they're really doing and the things that are coming out of this chapter are just kind of blowing you away? Like, which
Be
one?
careful, Bill.
I know. Actually, I'm gonna be politically correct on that. I think one of the things and one of the most amazing things to me, and we all know this, is the impact of Zoom that has had on our chapters and participation. I think we held close to almost 750 events across all chapters last year. We're down a little bit, but what we lacked in actual physical events, we made up through Zoom and other virtual type technology. And to me, we now have connectivity across chapters where we normally necessarily didn't have that focus prior to the pandemic. Now we have chapters working together to do things and basically lever all this information that's out there. So if you have a particular writer, for example, or even someone who's an expert in whatever area of the community you want, pick one. We have chapters working together to bring people together and gather across the country. So it cross-pollinates and cross-fertilizes folks, and then it starts to just gain mass and grow in that respect. So that's been one of the most surprising and pleasant things that our resourcefulness of the chapter coordinators as leaders in their own communities is there. We have some amazing volunteers that are doing amazing work.
You absolutely do. And I think Corey and I can get some shout outs. We've attended events with the Boston group, the Salt Lake group, the Austin group, and we have felt extremely welcomed. And the quality of the programs has just been phenomenal. It's been really good.
And I'll add to that and this is a credit to Bill and Carmen and the entire chapters team. At our gatherings, we typically have a chapter coordinators workshop where the coordinators have an opportunity to get together and learn from each other. And because we didn't have the gathering this year, that was obviously something we couldn't do. So they pulled together with Zoom a coordinator workshop, and I'll tell you, they knocked it out of the park. The feedback we heard from that was just stunning. So they're finding ways to get it done, and the creativity and has really been something to watch.
Awesome. So now, what if I lived in an area that doesn't really seem to have a chapter yet? What would I do to start one? What does someone do in that scenario?
I'll take that, obviously. I think if there's interest, there's a procedure that we have, and there's an evaluation basically that says, okay, we've got to hold two meetings and have come up with two people that are willing to run the chapter or lead the chapter, and then from there we go and they assess the interest and we basically get them to agree to serve as coordinators for a couple of years, and we go from there. We bring it to the board after they do the preliminary work, demonstrate there's a viable interest in terms of the number of people who have come to the meetings, and we approve it at that point, assuming they meet all those tests, and they become a chapter. So it doesn't take a lot, and it's a small seed, but then they tend to grow and flourish. So.
Yeah, and I wanted to say that I hope maybe one of you will speak to this a little bit more in depth, but I know for me, I recently moved from Salt Lake City to Seattle, and the very first thing I did was find out, is there an American Pilgrim group here, right? Because I wanted to immediately join, and I found the Puget Sound group, and they have given me the warmest welcome, and I feel like I've made so many friends virtually, and for me, this has been one of the parts of the Camino that I've really enjoyed is I feel like no matter where I move, I can immediately find some family members, right? And people that I have something in common with. And even though I have not been able to walk with any of them yet, because, we haven't been able to do that, I feel like I'm already getting to know quite a few people through that. So I wondered if you guys could talk about, if anybody would want to talk about what this Camino family is like and how these connections form and how your organization is providing this kind of networking opportunity.
Bill, you want to talk about that?
Sure. That's a complicated question, actually, in a way. I think it largely, a large part of it depends on the leadership of the chapter and the tone that they set. And, I think being well and serving our values, as Carmen mentioned before, the welcoming of folks to the chapter and how that's done. And then basically, depending on what, where you are in the cycle, I guess, or where you are in the process of either you're doing your first Camino or not, or your 6th or 7th or 8th, will kind of dictate how things go. From my own personal experience, I can say, not knowing anything necessarily about American Pilgrims back in 2014, there, as you said, they're very well. The folks in Chicago were very welcoming. I think a big part of the chapter, at least for me, in terms of preparing us for my first pilgrimage, was the mentoring that I got in terms of just not only on all the physical things that you need to know, like what kind of shoes, how heavy should my pack be, what should I take, logistics, what am I, all those things, but also the mental and spiritual or heart related things to think about while you're on Camino, right? I think they prepare you for that. And then once you go and you come back, then it's sharing your experiences with others, whether as a mentor or just understanding the process of what happens after you return and the things that are important and people that have been through it help you guide you to enrich your experience. I think that's a big part of it as well. So those are kinds of things that create those connections. And then again, you talk, and then you get people to come to the gathering, and it just it forms those kinds of friendships and other types of relationships. And then with Zoom now, we've, even though you don't necessarily meet physically, I think people do create connections across, in a virtual way. So, we do our best to try to make those connections and fulfill our values and our mission from that perspective.
So if I wanted, I guess it'll be twofold in this question, is if I wanted to get a mentor, if say I was a new pilgrim and I wanted some help, how would I go about getting a mentor from this group?
Well, I think what you would do is you'd probably talk to the chapter coordinators, and then they would guide you with it. There's a number of people within the chapters that are willing to do that, whether it's to be the coordinators themselves or somebody else, and as an active member of the chapter would be willing to do that for you. So
did you say that they would go on your website, find their local chapter, email?
Yes. Yeah. And one of the things that wasn't mentioned before when we were talking about the website is there also is a chapter calendar on the website that has all of the events. We try to get everyone to put their events on the calendar. So regardless of where you are in the country, you can find your chapter and find out when the next event's going to be, whether it's a virtual event or if, by chance there's a hike available or some other kind of physical get together.
Just to add to that, for example, in the Gulf Coast, what they do normally is if somebody is thinking about for the first time to embark on a pilgrimage, on whatever Camino it is, they kind of reach out to and get together the chapters get together on a monthly basis, and they start the conversation. Sometimes we have hikes, sometimes we have, just potlucks or stuff like that. And that's where the conversation goes. And then people kind of adopt each other in order to shepherd them along the way to positively make sure that they get there. Huh?
Yeah. I don't think I've met a pilgrim that doesn't want to talk about the Camino. You know, we all want to talk, right, about this great thing that we all love so much. So I want to open it up a little bit. I know each of you kind of represent a different area, obviously, and I'd like to give each of you a minute to, if there's something about your particular area that we want to make sure we share on tonight's call, I wanted to give you an opportunity to do that. So maybe we'll start with Dave. Dave, you want to just take a minute here to tell us anything that you would like as far as getting information out, or, you know, anything you'd like to say to the people that are seeing our interview today or listening
Sure.
to it?
No, I appreciate the opportunity, and I can't believe I didn't put a plug in earlier when I was talking about the gathering for 2022. But our theme for that gathering is going to be rekindling the Camino spirit.
Beautiful.
Which is appropriate after the year or so we've been through. And when we talk, I guess the thing I want to draw attention to is when we talk about the spirit of the Camino, both in the vision statement and as we refer to it in that theme, what we're talking about is actually something that's written in the American Pilgrims credential that we've been focusing a lot of attention on. And if you don't mind, I'll just read the 5 phrases. And these were developed by a prior board earlier in the organization. And so the 5 things, the things that are written in there are: live in the moment, welcome each day, its pleasures and its challenges, make others feel welcome, share, feel the spirit of those who have gone before you, imagine those that will follow you, and appreciate those that walk with you today. I think that sums up American Pilgrims on the Camino to a T, and what attracts people to this community. And like Carmen said, you know, we try to live those values and that spirit in everything we do. And as an all volunteer organization, I just think it's an incredible community to be a part of, and definitely a worthy community to support.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Bill, what about you? Anything you want to give a little mention of?
Well, I think, you know, we talked a lot about chapters and all the different things that we do, and how we support the pilgrims throughout the United States. And I would just encourage people to get involved with their local chapters. I think for me, you know, personally, being involved in the organization at the chapter level and with the organization in general, it's really enhanced my own personal experiences involved with the Camino. So I would highly encourage people to look and seek out their chapter and get involved, or contact us, and, you know, we're happy to help find you a spot to help us out, because all the different things that we do. So but from that perspective, that's my point of view, is I'd love to see more people get involved, because I think it really does enrich your experience.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Bill. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Carmen, any last kind of words you want to say to make sure we get a message out about the areas you represent or the overall organization?
Yeah. You know, we've talked a lot about helping prepare pilgrims to get ready for the Camino. I think one of our really big roles is helping you continue to live the spirit of the Camino when you get back. And just a plug for the Hospitalero training program. If you think about one of your best experiences on the Camino, it might involve an hospitalero listening to you, preparing dinner, sitting down in a group, helping you with your, you know, sprained ankle or your blisters or whatever, and being on the Camino with the perspective of a provider of service as opposed to the person receiving. It's such a rich and wonderful, fulfilling experience. So it closes the loop, and it's a continuous rekindling of doing the Camino. And that's just something that I would encourage. And it is something that you have had to walk the Camino. You have had to stay in some albergues, at least 2, so that you can take the train, and you have to be a member. But I think this organization does so many great things that I'm proud to be a member, and it's exciting to be a member, and a lifetime member to boot. But we do great things, and it's just a wonderful place to spend your time and energy.
Well, I think I think it's definitely coming out in your voices. But for those that are actually viewing this interview by video, I think everyone can see the energy that you guys are just so positive, and so I think you're going to make lots of people want to join. And you can just feel the embodiment of the Camino spirit and just how you guys are talking about everything here today. It's really, really refreshing and lovely. So thank you for that. And thank you also, Carmen, for mentioning the full circle of, you know, because I think once you go on Camino, you do want to go back and serve. You want to go back and be a part of the Camino in many different ways. And I think you're providing that opportunity to deepen and enrich the experience that we can all have as being a part of the Camino, not only as a pilgrim, but also coming back and serving. So thank you for that. Ruben, you're not last. I'm sorry. We want to get your word on this. What's another thing you'd want to say about the grants area or any area that?
Yeah, well, for me, I'm very thankful that we're coming to the closure of a cycle on the grants program, something that started in 2008 with one single grant that was delivered by hand to one of the albergues in Via de la Plata. To now actually being able to deliver, almost a little bit over $400,000 over that period of time. I'm very thankful for the reviewers, some 10 members that have actually reviewed each one of the applications, made an assessment, and tried to be fair comparing one relative to the others. And then to the two of my cohorts that helped me kind of make the call, both Sarah and Joseph, that actually helped me come through this. And we still have a few cycles to go in actually sending them the checks after we receive the letters of acceptance, but it's coming to a close, and we'll start again next December. Huh? So I'm very excited about that and trying to improve the process and making sure that we continue the program.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, 400,000. That's a lot of money that has been donated. That's fantastic. So we're coming to
it's all given by the membership. So we're very thankful for being a member. It's a tangible way that you can actually make your dollars count.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So we're getting close to the end of our interview, and although I think we could probably talk all night as pilgrims do, but I just wonder if we could kind of finish. I think we all know those famous quotes about the Camino. The Camino provides Camino magic. The pilgrimage doesn't end when you get to Santiago and so on. So I just wondered if one or two of you would want to share a story of where you have seen those same principles, maybe in your work with the organization or maybe at one of the gatherings, but could you share a story with us that is unique to maybe the American Pilgrim group or your work with it that illustrates that Camino magic, the Camino providing, or any fun story, just something fun that maybe people would enjoy hearing, like motivate us to go to the gathering if we need any more motivation, that is. I think we all probably want to go at this point. But yeah, any stories you'd want to share?
Dave, I think you could share one from Lake Tahoe. I mean, there's so many great stories from Lake Tahoe, from being day one of the pandemic to the major snowstorm to, and you're a better storyteller than I am. So I think you should tell at least one of those stories.
What was interesting about the Lake Tahoe gathering was it was on the cusp of the pandemic, right? So as we're approaching the start of the gathering, we're all really wringing our hands over, do we do this? Do we not do this? The numbers were just starting to climb. We were just starting to learn.
Let me interrupt a second. What was the date when this gathering started?
The gathering
March
started 9th. March 9th,
Oh, wow. Okay, so March
it was just starting to come up. So when we were a couple of weeks in advance, we're starting to talk about some of these new CDC guidelines and the mask wearing and the hand sanitizer and things. And so we're starting to scramble a little bit. And it really was sort of day by day assessing what we were going to do. And we shared a lot of information with our folks, and we decided to go. We decided to have the gathering. And when we opened the gathering, one of my first statements to the entire crowd was, "You came." We were so happy they showed up. But we started implementing those new precautions that were sort of new to everybody. And at that point, it was almost like we were thinking this was like 2 to 4 weeks and we'd be through it. You just weren't sure. Think back to that time. And so as we went through this gathering, like Bill said, it was, started out 70 degrees sunny. Everybody's wearing shorts and t-shirts. And then, everybody's a little concerned about the pandemic, and we're talking about that. And then all of a sudden we get the, hey, there's a blizzard coming. and if you're gonna get off the mountain, you better do it now. The locals will tell you, hey, if you don't have 4-wheel drive, you're gonna be here for a while. I hope you brought clothes, And so we had a certain number of people decide, hey, it's time to go, with everything going on. And so we had a few people leave, but you ended up with a core group of folks. One of whom was Dan Mullins from Australia.
Love Dan.
It was going to snow, and so we called him and said, hey, you don't need to come. It's okay if you need to cancel because of the blizzard and blah, blah, blah. And so, but he came anyway. And so that first Saturday night, he played, right, for everybody, an impromptu concert. And then the next day there was a little window and people started to leave. And then the next night he played the concert he had planned. And I remember that night because it was sort of the folks who went, I'm not going. I'll camp here for a week if I have to. And I think he played, Bill, what was it? He played for hours. And the whole group, was swaying back and forth. And the snow was falling down, and it ended up, I don't know, we got 18, 20 some odd inches of snow. And I remember all of us standing outside at the end of that concert going, wow, what a night, right? I don't care how long I have to stay here. This was worth it.
Well, to cap it off was one of the folks actually had a little bit of an medical issue. Yeah. So at the end we had a crisis, right? Wow. Right. But he was okay. He turned out to be okay. Yeah. But so, and that was a whole nother, another level of stress as well. But it turned out okay. Everything was fine. And we all supported each other to help that person out. But it was really a great night. It was. And
I'll tell you, the chair of that gathering, Sarah Gradwald, she set out to, and she's a detail person. She set out to make that gathering perfect. And all of these challenges started coming our way. Yeah. And I talk about grace under fire, right? She was able to calmly, keep things moving, make adjustments to the schedule because we had presenters that couldn't show up, and we flexed. And it was like the ultimate Camino experience where this couldn't happen to a better crowd because we all flexed, we were all understanding, we all supported each other, and we got through it. And in the end, we have and I think on our website, we have a group picture, right, of everybody that came to that thing. And it's really a testament to that Camino spirit, because we look back on that today and you might look at that and go, gosh, there were so many problems and issues in world events and it was just stressful, but it wasn't. I tell you, I look back on that experience and that was the best gathering I think I've ever attended. And so Sarah got her wish, right? It was spectacular. And that is the type of community this is no matter what happens, we'll pull together, we'll make it happen, we'll keep each other safe, and we'll support each other. And it was incredible.
Well, that is a beautiful interview, and I think should encourage everyone to go to this next gathering. Oh, wow. All right. I just want to say to all of you, Dave, Bill, Carmen, and Ruben, and all of the other board members and the volunteers that participate and make this group work and do all the great things you're doing, to just say a really big thank you and to remind everyone that this is a volunteer effort. Right. People are volunteering their time, and I think that shows just great dedication to the spirit of the Camino, which is what all of you have been showing tonight. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, I wanted to give each of you individually just a same thing, a huge thank you for the way that you show up and the things that you do. It's remarkable, and to the whole organization in and of itself. But thank you to each of you for your time and the way that you show up in the world, because it makes a difference. And we see it, and that's how we want to show up. And I just think when, just like your values, that's that's how we want to do things as well. And it's nice to have a community that really is thoughtful and mindful and really wants to better it as a whole. So thank you so much to all of you.
Well, and we appreciate you having us on so we can share the story. And like you said, we could tell these stories all night long, but we appreciate the opportunity.
Exactly. I think we can talk all night long. And please stay on. I am going to close out our call officially, but please stay on, Corey, and I want to just talk to you for just a few more minutes. But
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have learned something about the American Pilgrims on the Camino, and I think that you have definitely seen some really great examples of the Camino family and the Camino spirit tonight. So thank you for being with us, and we hope to see you back at the Camino Cafe very soon.
Thank you.